Welcome back, everyone, to another Eat Speak podcast.
Okay, now, bud. Well, welcome back, everybody, to our Eat Speak podcast. Go ahead, bud. Oh, let's see.
Hi, and Steve. But the most delicious podcast in the Metroplex, episode number 201. I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.
And after that, I'm going to need a big ice cream cone because it's summertime. And I think, I know we've been running all these Star Telegram reader polls about the best hamburgers and the best pizza and the best this and the best that. But I think what everybody wants to talk about right now is ice cream, because this summer we're all burning up. So our guest today is Kari Crowe. She runs Melt Ice Creams. There used to be one Melt Ice Creams. Now there's three. Plus, I guess there's four now. So there's Melt Ice Creams everywhere. You can get a lot of other places. She's going to tell us all about that. Kari, welcome to the Eat Speak podcast.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
When we had you on early in our 200 episodes, and you were a struggling little entrepreneur who was just barely drawing a little crowd to her little bitty ice cream shop and a startup on the south side, and now you're like Melt Incorporated. Tell us all about Melt Ice Creams.
We have grown quite a bit since that first podcast together.
Where you have locations now, of course. I mean, I think everyone's familiar with the location that's always busy on Magnolia, 1201 West Magnolia, but you're in Sundance Square and Mule Alley and Dallas now, is that right?
Yeah, we have one location in the Bishop Arts area, and then one in downtown Sundance Square, right next to Riata, and then our newest location is what you're showing on the screen, our Mule Alley location. In Mule Alley, right down from the Drover.
Well, what do the cowboy crowds order at Mule Alley that's different from what the hipsters on Magnolia want?
We carry the same ice creams at all of the stores, so we carry those same products. But we do see a different crowd. We have there's a lot of tourism in the stockyards, so we get to introduce ourselves and introduce our brand to anybody that's coming through the stockyards, traveling and experiencing it for the first time and learning about the area for the first time. So it's a really fun place to see different and new visitors every single day.
A lot of people who grew up with Baskin Robbins and they go to those stores still now combined with Dunkin', or they, particularly in the stockyards, I bet a lot of visitors are used to Braum's and going to Braum's for ice cream. What do you tell them is different, and talk about the super premium shops, the Amy's in Austin, and the places that kind of paved the way for places like Melt?
Yeah, I would definitely say Amy's is super premium in Austin, and we use a high butter fat in our ice cream, so we have a 14% butter fat, and then we use the biggest difference between us and say Baskin Robbins or Marble Slab is we take our dairy and our cream, and we use all natural ingredients, and we make our own products that go into those ice creams. So a lot of those ice cream shops, and there's nothing wrong with it, but the way that they produce their ice creams is they use flavorings or syrups that they pour into their ice creams. And we like for the food to speak for itself. So we're using real peaches, real raspberries, real blueberries. We're making our crust from scratch. Any of our inclusions that go into our ice creams, we're making that from scratch. We stay away from harsh food colorings. We use natural ingredients to flavor our products. So that's the biggest difference you're going to see with our ice creams, and we want you to be able to taste the difference. So I don't know if you've noticed, Bud, but in all of our ice cream shops we have closed dipping cabinets, because we want the consumer, when they taste a sample of our ice cream, we want them to taste the flavor of what we're putting into the ice cream versus just visually picking it based off of food colorings.
Steve, it's the middle of summer as we're recording this episode 201. How much ice cream have you had already?
Well, I haven't really had much yet, but I was just talking to Kari earlier, and she says I can actually order her ice cream off of Amazon Fresh. So I think I'm going to order me a pint here real soon.
So Amazon Fresh now is distributing milk?
If it's connected to a Whole Foods close to your region, we're in the 14 Whole Foods within DFW, and if their store is an Amazon Fresh store, then you can get it delivered directly to your door through Whole Foods on Amazon Fresh.
So that's straight to your door. And then what are the other? I know you have a dozen other options. I said that I go to Bonnell's where they sell pints of melt, with their family dinners. But also, if you come up anytime, they'll sell you a pint of melt out at the end of the tollway, and you don't have to drive all the way into the city. But what are all the other melt ice cream options?
Yeah, I mean, we're on the delivery systems like Faber and DoorDash. You can get it delivered if you're within the zip code of those things. We're also in boutique grocery markets like Meyer and Sage in Dallas. That's our boutique partner there is Foxtrot. What else? The 4 retail stores, you can get curbside. We'll bring it out to you. So you don't have to get out of your car. And then our events team, we have our ice cream truck. We drive that neighborhood to neighborhood, and neighborhoods can book our ice cream truck, and we'll sell pints directly to you. So it won't be delivered to your door, but you can just walk down your driveway. So we think that's pretty good too.
Steve, what's your go-to flavor?
Well, this was it vanilla that was it a scoop of Texas? What do you call it? Something Texas.
Cup of Texas, that's our coffee ice cream.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the one I like. Yeah.
Yeah, we take freshly roasted coffee and we steep our cream in the coffee beans so that we're extracting that flavor directly from the coffee versus using like a freeze-dried coffee or a coffee extract or something like that. We want it to come directly from those coffee beans.
It's peach season. This week is the Peach Festival in Weatherford. And I know one of your competitors, Curly's Custard on the west side, has their peach frozen custard now. You tell me what's coming up from you with peach.
Yeah, so we like to work with some smaller peach purveyors, some smaller peach farmers. And our peach farmer doesn't quite have his crop ready to go yet. But what we'll do is a peach week. So it'll kind of be like a peach extravaganza. And we'll drop a few different flavors that our culinary team has been working on. So right now they're working on our classic flavor that we have every year. It's called Peachy Keen. And it's kind of like our take on a peach cobbler, like a deconstructed peach cobbler. It's really yummy. And then we're working on a peach rosé sorbet to spice things up a little bit. And then we're also working on some pepper and peach combinations. So you get a little spice from the pepper. And then we'll see what else they dream up and see what lands on the menu. But we'll have a full week and we'll drop those peach flavors. And then once we sell out of those, we're completely out because we are working with a farmer on the crops that they have and for those peaches. And so it'll be a limited amount of really, really fresh peaches. And then when we sell out, we won't have any more.
Steve?
Well, so we have some pictures of some different ice creams you offer. What do we have here?
Yeah, so we just dropped these flavors. Our current menu right now have these what we call our sometimes flavors. So we have a watermelon sorbet. I mean, as we talk about the heat, I think it's one of the hottest summers we've had since 2011. And so to me, ice cream is year-round a wonderful treat. But in these hotter days when it's over 105 degrees, sometimes a sorbet just really hits. So our watermelon sorbet is a really fresh and a sorbet that kind of really hits on a hot day. I personally, I don't say it's not a bad idea if you take that sorbet and you mix it in a blender with a little tequila. We also have our pineapple upside down cake. That's the one that has the cherries on it. So there's some cherries in there, pineapple, It's got really deep notes of brown butter in that cake. And then on the far left, we have a key lime pie. So it's got some graham cracker crumbles in it, and it's just really got a pucker forward key lime pie flavor. And then lastly, we have our Texas butter pecans. So we use San Saba pecans in that ice cream flavor. So we're using those Texas pecans, and it's got a really just a rich flavor to it. It's also got a brown butter throughout, and it's one of our most popular flavors right now.
Steve, I've got that pineapple upside down in the freezer right now because I'm really crazy for anything that's pineapple or pina colada or coconut. But I also have some of the chocolate, and I think that's a non-dairy flavor. I think it's a coconut milk flavor. How much of your sales now are non-dairy frozen dessert, coconut milk or almond milk, or how much do people want that? Well, obviously the sorbets, ices are. So how much of your sales are non-dairy?
Yeah, I would say about 10% of our sales are made up of non-dairy. We call our vegan flavors or non-dairy flavors our plant-based flavors.
Plant-based.
Yeah, and so it's a little more friendlier in the grocery store when you're looking. Maybe it's a health conscious decision, or maybe it's a lifestyle decision with not eating animal products. But yeah, that makes up around 10% of our sales now. And it's really important to us for families to be inclusive to families that has, a child or a family member that has allergies. We see a lot of parents come through our doors on date night who will kind of test it out to see if we really are allergy friendly, and then come back and bring their kids to try us that have those allergies. So our staff is really spends a lot of time in training on learning how to combat allergens. They'll do specific things for families with allergies, like we'll take our ice cream spades and go back and wash those and put those through a sanitized process. And then they'll even open a new bucket or tub of ice cream, so there's just no chance of cross-contamination. So we take that really seriously. There's just a lot of growing allergies in our country, and so it's important to us that everybody be able to experience the joy and the happiness that ice cream brings. And so it's just been a focus of ours for the last few years.
Well, a lot of people are rolling their eyes right now, but the coconut milk, almond milk ice creams, or the coconut milk custard at Curly's, almond milk custard, they're all really good. So you're missing out if you haven't tried it. I want to ask you about the business. We've seen ice cream places come and go, and you've done great, but some of the pop shops, we saw Steel City Pops that I think is still around in Waterside, but has had some problems. Pop Bar came and went. Why does some places like you and Henry's and places like that seem to be just booming businesses, and others just kind of flounder around?
I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. I think some of those places you named weren't local places. They didn't necessarily have a large support of the community behind them. And then I think for us, we have kind of an internal team that really focuses on the business side of things. And so we haven't necessarily grown outside of what we can handle. And I think what I've seen from some of these brands that you mentioned is they grew really fast into some real estate developments that were just frankly incredibly expensive for the product that they sell. At the end of the day, we sell a $4 product. And so you have to sell a lot of $4 products to make up the cost of your rent. And so I think there's staying power with people that are really focused on the numbers and focused on the business, and how do we make the best product possible for our customers, but how do we also make a functioning operable business for our employees and our staff members. And so we've really focused a lot internally on creating a sustainable business model, and not just we don't have, I think some of the other factors in that is if you bring on a huge investment team, you're really pushed to hit financial goals for them to make their money back. And we've never taken on investment partners. And so we don't necessarily have somebody behind us telling us we have to grow in order to hit those financial benchmarks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's nobody making you open up a full cocktail bar with craft cocktails in order to drive more profit or anything like that. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're in all the tourist areas that, what's going on in the stockyards, what's going on in Sundance? How do you compare the tourist scene in Fort Worth?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have different crowds in a lot of those places. The crowd that we see in Sundance Square a lot of times is convention traffic. We did see kind of a slower bounce back to offices just because of the pandemic. And so that, I think a lot of people are still working from home and enjoy working from home. But we partner with a lot of businesses throughout the Metroplex to cater, happy hours and things like that to their staffs, because their staff is coming in the office and they need to incentivize and keep people excited and engaged in that. In the stockyards, I mean, just with the amount of money that has been spent on that development, I think there is this really fresh and fun energy down there. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to participate in. There's a lot to see. And we really see just a massive amount of foot traffic. And I think we're still learning, right? Because we haven't been there. We've only been open for a few months there. So we're still learning what those traffic patterns are. But relatively, we see a lot of families that are coming through visiting and learning about the history of Fort Worth and learning about the history of Texas through some of the different things they do. I mean, it's pretty amazing to see those cows twice a day, every day, go to the stockyards. And if you have family in town, that's something you want to take them to see and do. And it's so hot, so why not get a fun frozen treat?
I'm sure you teach them all about the history of Fort Worth and ice cream, and how when you eat a drumstick anywhere in the country, the drumstick bar was invented in Fort Worth. And this is the place that when you see the novelty drumstick that was developed and invented here, that the cone was rolled in peanuts and chocolate and called the drumstick. That's one of Fort Worth's gifts to the world. So we have our own little place in ice cream history. We have our own little place in ice cream history. So, Steve, do you have any more questions? Kari, do you have any more ice cream news to talk about?
Well, I wanted to find out what this sandwich thing is.
Oh, yeah. So we call that the Texas two-step. So that is our brown sugar oat pecan cookie with that Texas butter pecan ice cream.
And then I think we also had some sort of strawberry shake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we started offering milkshakes in the last year, which, I mean, I think when it's this hot, it's a little bit easier to suck down a milkshake without it, melting all over your hands, if that's something you're worried about. And so this is just our strawberry milkshake, which is just really fresh and fruity. We make a fresh strawberry sauce that goes in that. And we make that our whipped cream from scratch every day. And so you're just getting a really fresh, yummy shake, to cool you off in this massive heat storm that we're all living through.
What about tequila? You mentioned something about tequila and the watermelon sorbet. You don't have.
Steve would like to know more about tequila.
You choose your own tequila, Steve. You make it at home.
You bring your own tequila. Okay, I'm just double checking.
Kari, what is the best place and time to beat the line? If people say I go to Melt all the time, but the line's too long, what is the best place and time? Which location? What time of day? I went and bought this pineapple. I went on Sunday before the 4th of July on Magnolia about 4 in the afternoon. It was pretty slow, but what time should people come and beat the line?
Yeah, so we typically form a line after dinner. And so if you come right when we open, you come anytime after
Which
lunch.
is at noon.
Yeah. We open at 11 a.m. in the stockyards, but all the other stores are at noon. Then you typically won't have to stand in line. And then you can always order for pickup and not have to stand in line as well.
So just come anytime in the afternoon on Magnolia, park on the street, or do you have a lot around back on Magnolia, or is it
We
just
do have a
street
lot.
parking?
We have limited parking behind the store on Magnolia. Parking isn't typically an issue on Magnolia. There is a lot of spots. There's also a free garage not too far away, and so there's ample opportunity for parking. There's a lot of street parking that's still free on Magnolia, and so it's pretty easy to get in and out there. We also have ice cream cakes. I know I didn't send you a picture of that, Steve, but we've developed in the last year 3 different ice cream cakes that we always have available for celebrations and birthdays, and we have 3 different flavors. One of those being plant-based, dairy-free. So lots of different options.
Man, that's just great. Steve, any other ice cream thoughts?
I'm still sucking that tequila, but I'm gonna get on to Amazon Fresh and see if they have the watermelon.
I'm gonna go down the street on Magnolia to Spice and get some of their Thai coconut ice cream and have some of that mixed with your pineapple upside down and make my own little pina colada. So it's going to be great. So
Sounds great.
it's going to be fantastic. Well, thank you for helping us feel cooler for a few minutes today. And we'll see you again a lot before the summer's out. Until next time on the Eat Speed Podcast, I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.